Welcome to the Explainer. So, have you ever stopped to think that trying too hard to aggressively save your money, like just out of sheer panic or fear, might actually be making you poorer? It sounds completely backwards, right? But today we're diving into the timeless work of Florence Scovel Shinn, and we're going to look at how putting your financial affairs in order actually starts with a really profound shift in your mindset. Let's just jump right in.
Okay, let's dive into this foundational rule, because it essentially dictates our entire financial reality. The text says, gratitude is the law of increase, complaint is the law of decrease. So, according to the source material, our everyday words and our daily mindset are basically direct commands to our subconscious. When we're constantly complaining, focusing on what we don't have, we're actively triggering that law of decrease. We're literally signaling the universe to give us less. But on the flip side, gratitude operates as this powerful law of increase. Just being deeply thankful for what you already possess, no matter how small it might seem, is the exact mechanism that draws more of it to you.
Which, leads us directly to a pretty tough question. Are you pushing your own wealth away with your words? It's definitely a moment for some honest reflection. The text actually describes our words and thoughts as a kind of radioactivity that never returns void. So, complaining about your finances or constantly bringing up how expensive everything is, well, it isn't just venting. It's actually a form of subconscious self-sabotage. It actively blocks the manifestation of the exact prosperity you're hoping for. By speaking about lack, you're basically justifying and condemning your own financial state, and that pushes the good you desire even further away.
To fix this, we really have to look at two fundamentally different ways we can approach money. On one side, we have the material attitude. And this is when you rely solely on, say, a fragile salary, a fixed income, or maybe volatile investments. Honestly, it's a super anxiety-inducing way to live, right? Because those things can just vanish overnight. But on the other side, we have the spiritual attitude. This is the liberating belief that you are directly connected to an infinite, universal, invisible supply. It's having that absolute trust that if one door closes, another one immediately opens for you. When you make that shift to a spiritual attitude, you stop seeing your employer as your only source of wealth, and instead, you tap into this much larger, endless current of abundance.
Let me share a really striking cautionary anecdote from the text that perfectly illustrates the danger of staying stuck in that fearful material mindset. So there was this very wealthy woman who owned a magnificent collection of pearls, but she was constantly acting out of fear rather than faith. She would hoard these beautiful pearls and constantly talk about lack, repeatedly telling people, someday I will have to eat these pearls. Well, your subconscious mind is always listening, right? Eventually, her immense wealth simply evaporated, and she manifested that exact poverty she kept talking about. She literally had to sell her beloved pearls just to buy food and basic necessities. She didn't lose her wealth to bad luck. She lost it through that persistent daily vibration of fear.
So how do we actually counteract this kind of fear? Well, through what the text calls active faith. Now, active faith means demonstrating absolute belief through actual physical preparation before the blessing even arrives. The old adage, faith without works is dead. You can't just sit around on your couch repeating affirmations and expect a miracle to drop through the ceiling. True spiritual wealth requires you to take physical steps in the real world to prepare your environment to receive the good you're asking for. Basically, you have to act as if you've already received it.
And this brilliantly illustrates what active faith actually looks like in practice. The text gives us some highly specific practical steps to anchor this mindset of abundance. First, it suggests going out and buying a new wallet or purse. You treat it like your own personal magic vault, designed specifically to hold the money the universe is sending you. Second, get a new pen, like a designated magic pen, just for signing checks or managing your newly organized finances. And third, and this might be the most important one, give away those old clothes that make you feel poor. Keeping worn-out stuff that makes you feel destitute literally drags your vibration down. Taking these physical actions is considered the truest form of prayer because you're actively preparing.
Think about autumn leaves falling from a tree. It's such a perfect visual metaphor for this whole process. Just like trees have to let go of their old dead leaves to make room for new growth in the spring, we have to let go of the old to make room for the new. If you hold on to old things, like those clothes we just talked about that carry a vibration of poverty, or even old resentments, they're going to energetically drag you down. You are essentially cluttering your life with the energy of lack, and that actively blocks new supply from entering. Nature absolutely abhors a vacuum. When you clear out the old with a joyful heart, the new just rushes right in to fill it.
But there's a really critical nuance here. The motive behind your actions deeply, deeply matters. The text shares another story about a student who actually manifested several $1,000s after years of going without. But her very first impulse was to act out of fear. She went out and bought multiple pairs of shoes, not because she joyfully wanted them, but to prepare for a financial loss. Her thought process was, I better buy these now in case I go broke again. Her motive was totally rooted in lack. And because she was energetically preparing for loss instead of abundance, she very quickly found herself with a closet full of shoes, but completely out of money all over again.
And that brings us to a really fundamental principle in the text, the law of use. This is the natural law that requires resources to be actively circulated out in the world. It's quite literally a use it or lose it situation. The text strongly warns that hoarding money for a rainy day or saving specifically for sickness practically guarantees that those exact disasters are going to happen just to consume that saved money. When you lock your resources away out of terror, you're breaking the law of use, and the universe will find a way to force that circulation, which usually happens through some kind of unexpected loss or a sudden emergency.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is when we break down the real consequences of this law, it's pretty stark. Hoarding your wealth too tightly creates a subconscious image of lack, right? Because you only hoard when you truly believe there isn't enough to go around. Saving for a rainy day literally manifests the rainy day. But look at that third point. Circulating money with wisdom and joy actually connects you to the invisible supply. When you release money without fear, knowing it's going to be replenished, you invite an absolute avalanche of abundance. Breaking this law of use through stinginess actually invites karmic loss, meaning you just end up losing the money anyway, but in much more painful ways.
And the benefits of joyful circulation, they extend way beyond just your bank account. As this idea highlights, joyful circulation creates endless currents of wealth and peace. The text actually makes this fascinating connection between our financial mindset and our physical health. Having a calm, clear mindset, combined with joyful spending and that active faith we talked about, it keeps your personal vibration super high. The author even notes that a harmonious person doesn't even vibrate at the same level as a germ. By living without that constant financial panic, and by refusing to be resentful or fearful, you're making yourself immune not just to poverty, but to the actual physical ailments caused by the stress of lack.
So the crucial point is this: never say, I am broke, as you imprint a picture of lack on the subconscious. Your subconscious mind is a literal record keeper. It doesn't understand sarcasm, it doesn't get jokes, and it certainly doesn't understand venting. It just takes your exact words, things like, I am broke, I can't afford this, or money is so hard to make, and it acts on them as direct instructions to shape your physical reality. To truly put your financial affairs in order, you've got to first become fiercely protective of the words coming out of your mouth. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, lingering question to think about. What are you actively preparing to receive today? Because it's not enough to just want something or to simply sit back and hope things get better. You really have to step into active faith. So I challenge you to step away from this explainer right now and immediately take one physical step in your daily life to prepare for your abundance. Go clear out a drawer, give away a shirt you hate, or hey, simply buy a new pen. Just show the universe you're ready. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the spiritual laws of wealth. Now get out there and create some joyful circulation.